Halo Infinite's campaign for me was perfect and then some. However, it does come with its fair share of mysteries which can leave portions of the player base feeling slightly underwhelmed and irritated with its cliffhangers. One of the biggest mysteries as of now is actually towards the end of the game, where the Chief and the weapon essentially teleport 3 days into the future from the Silent Auditorium to an unlocation on the ring. Today I want to put a theory in front of you guys which was initially thought up by Red Normster on YouTube. I'll leave some links down below to the original video where you guys can go check it out, but it's a really good watch, but I would definitely go recommend checking it out to get some more in-depth details around this point. But before we do jump into today's video guys, be sure to go check the links to the socials down below, and don't forget to join our community Discord. The link in my previous videos did expire, so if you couldn't go ahead and join, then of course now you can go ahead and try to do that. So that was my fault. It won't expire ever again, so that link will be the one forever. So go check it out in the description down below. But without further ado though guys, let's get into the video. So, how did the Chief teleport from one side of the ring to the other and have it take 3 days to get there? Well, there are multiple reasons and theories as to why this could be the case, but the one I want to point towards in this video is actually around the ancient rings that we find scattered across the Zeta Halo. So on Zeta Halo, we have 7 different audio logs relating to the 7 different rings that were scattered across the map. Within each audio log, Despondent Pyre seems to become more and more distressed, saying that now she's learning more about them, she doesn't know why her creators didn't tell them about the enemy within, which is what was translated by her on the rings. Strangely enough, this translation is also found in the 2018 reveal trailer. From what we can see, looks like within some form of cave, but the really cool thing about this is this may not be a cave at all. This might actually be an ancient ring of some sort. Now, the quote, "enemy within," is significant in this instance. The engraving predates the Forerunners and the creators of Despondent Pyre, so something engraved those symbols into the ring and, from what we can see, into that cave or ring-like structure within the cave, which were older than the Forerunners. But the interesting part is that when you get the achievement for finding all 7 of these Forerunner constructs, it mentions that they're Forerunner. So how does that work? How did the ancient rings get onto Zeta Halo, and how did the Chief time travel 3 days into the future? Well, the Chief was teleported 3 days into the future from the Silent Auditorium towards the end of the Halo Infinite campaign, but what if I told you that the Silent Auditorium could have been the place where the Isodidact had the Primordial executed and placed within a time lock, making millions of years passing feel like a second? However, the beings on the outside see time pass just as normal. Well, what if the Chief and the weapon were in a time lock towards the end of the game? After all, they were in the center of the Silent Auditorium, and judging by some of the concept art that we can see, and it'll be on screen right now, this looks very, very similar to what we can see. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of tweets from Seracia4 on Twitter, which really gives a really good overlook and insight as to what this really could be, and a really good explanation around this. I think I finally understand. The Silent Auditorium is a reverse time lock, as you can see from the top, which closely matches the concept from the Primordial's time lock. That's also why the Chief was missing for 3 days. He was stuck teleporting because he was within some form of time lock. I think this is where the Primordial was killed. Despondent Pyre also mentions that the Silent Auditorium was used before the Endless, which could directly relate to the Primordial. One of those statues is the Iso or the Didact, a member of the Criterion, which was of course mentioned within the legendary ending. One more thing to add as well. The 3 statues in the room are Born Stellar, Chant to Green, and an unknown Juridical. All of these would be in the group called, well, the Criterion. And this would make sense because the Endless were also contained, and this is where they were sentenced to imprisonment. So it does make sense, and yeah, it's all starting to link together a bit better now. This is very interesting, but there's still more. What if the Silent Auditorium wasn't just a time lock, but what if the rings that we can see scattered around Zeta Halo were in fact the time locks, or used to imprison a particular prisoner for them to then go through this time lock process, similar to what the Primordial did? Hear me out here. The rings are older than the Forerunners, right? But the rings are still Forerunner constructs. What if the rings are used to contain the prisoner, aka the Primordial at the time, within these rings, and the time speeds up whilst they're contained within? And then being on the inside of these rings, obviously the time speeds up like a time lock whilst they're contained within inside this ring. The enemy within. But along with the prisoner passing time instantly, so does the ring. The ring then ages along with them, which is what gives these ancient rings their aging looks, and why they look like they predate the Forerunners. because they're actually over 1 billion years old because of time passing in the process of them being within this time lock. Now, I want you to listen to the end of Red Norm's video where he details this further around the way the Primordial was killed and how the rings were used in order to do that.
I don't think these artifacts are the destination, I think they were once the passengers. Just like Chief, they were cast out of the silent auditorium to distant, remote parts of the ring. To preface, here's an excerpt from the book Halo Primordium. The captive was decaying from within. What sort of cage was this? The misty blue light seemed to vibrate, and a high singing sound reverberated through the hemisphere. The didact choked on his fury and doubled over, contorted with his own agony, his own awareness of a great crime about to be committed. The didact hesitated for just an instant, as if trying to understand, but anger overcame him. He made a swift gesture like a swinging sword. The mesh around the captive's platform spread between them a far more intense blue glow. You were made to survive deep time, but now it will arrive all at once. Let 1 billion years pass in endless silence and isolation. The Primordial's head split down the middle and the two-faceted eyes lay for a moment atop a pile of cascading gray dust. They glinted in the dead blue light. The dust became finer and finer, and then everything stopped. As far as the story goes, I think the didact executed the Primordial in the silent auditorium using these artifacts. As the didact recognizes the crimes towards the mantle before he even commits it, I think the artifacts were portaled away thereafter out of shame and in an attempt to hide evidence from Forerunner history. And after you unlock all 7 artifacts, the weapon sums up this theory quite well.
Imagine needing to carve your apology onto an eternal slate, but not to say sorry, to warn, to confess.
Whether this summarizes the silent auditorium, I'll let you be the judge of that, but it is very, very interesting. But if it does come to light that this is the case, yeah, well done, Red Normster, well done. But again, this is slightly conflicting with some of the previous book lore within the Point of Light. It mentions within this book that the place where the Primordial was executed was near the core of Mendicant Bias, a circular complex with around 22 kilometers of diameter that serves as a silent cartographer for the ring. Whether this summarizes the silent auditorium, I'll let you be the judge of that. But there's also another point to this video, and that's to do with Atriox and his apparent survival. Now, I've made a few videos in the past relating to Atriox's survival and how the ring didn't blow him into 1 million pieces. This theory has validity, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. Cortana and Atriox were in the silent auditorium when it was destroyed, the place where the Primordial was placed into a time lock, and also the place where the Chief and the weapon mysteriously entered a portal which sent them 3 days into the future. What if Atriox entered some form of time lock at the time? Or what if Cortana's sacrifice resulted in some form of portal opening which did the exact same thing? Push Atriox 6 months into the future. For him, it was a second, but for the Banished, it was the whole 6 months, and this is why they thought that he might have been dead. Or a previous theory I had, which I still think has some validity, maybe Offensive Bias thought that Atriox was trying to help contain the Endless and take down Cortana, because Cortana was trying to, for whatever reason, she knew about the Endless, so if they were free, it would be a big problem. So maybe Offensive Bias put a portal into the middle of the silent auditorium to try and save Atriox when Cortana was trying to destroy him and also the rings. So similar to what happened with Chief. If Offensive Bias portaled Atriox out of the silent auditorium, that would also mean that a very similar thing would have happened towards the end of the game, where we see Chief and the weapon teleport 3 days into the future. To them it was a second, but for the rest of the ring it was a full 3 days. Atriox would have been stuck in that time lock for 6 months, resulting in the Banished, of course, thinking that he's dead, as we mentioned. So, but guys, that is going to be it for this video. I really hope that you have enjoyed. If you have, be sure to drop a like, it'd be much appreciated, and make sure you also subscribe to the channel, guys, for more content coming each and every other day. And let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Doesn't matter how crazy they are, I'd love to know everything that you think in the description down below. And a massive shout out again to Red Normster for allowing me to use the ending part of his video. He explains it so well, and for me it's such a good question to ask, and also a really good theory that he's come up with as well on the back of obviously his video. So all the links in the description to go check out the original video. Go show him some love, let him know Wizzo sent you as well. And yeah, guys, have a great rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. We'll speak to you in the next one.